Have you ever looked out your back window at night and felt a chill run down your spine? That feeling that you're not alone, even in the supposed safety of your own home. The backyard, a place of summer barbecues and childhood games, can transform into something sinister when the sun goes down. Tonight, we're going to explore that darkness. These are 3 chilling stories from people who discovered that the real horror was waiting just beyond their back door. Our first story comes from a man named Mark, who moved into a new house with a large, inviting backyard. It seemed perfect for his dog, Buster. For the first few weeks, everything was normal. Buster loved chasing squirrels and rolling in the grass. But then, things started to change. One evening, Mark let Buster out and noticed him acting strangely. Instead of his usual playful antics, Buster stood rigid at the far end of the yard, staring intently at the dense woods that bordered their property. He let out a low, continuous growl, something Mark had never heard from him before. Mark called him back, but Buster wouldn't budge. Finally, Mark had to go out and physically drag him back inside. The dog was trembling, his fur standing on end. This became a nightly ritual. Every time Mark let Buster out after dark, he would run to the same spot and stare into the woods, growling. Mark tried to see what Buster was looking at, but he saw nothing, just shadows and trees. One night, the growling was different. It was more frantic, mixed with terrified yelps. Mark rushed to the back door and saw Buster cowering by the steps, his tail tucked between his legs. Mark scanned the yard, his heart pounding, and that's when he saw it. Standing just at the edge of the woods was a figure. It was tall, unnaturally thin, with limbs that seemed too long for its body. It was completely still, just a silhouette against the deeper darkness of the forest. Mark's blood ran cold. He yanked the door open, pulled a whimpering Buster inside, and locked it. He ran to the window, peering out, but the figure was gone. He told himself it was just his imagination, a trick of the light. But Buster's terror was real. For the next week, Buster refused to go into the backyard at all, even during the day. A few days later, Mark was working in his home office, which had a window overlooking the backyard. It was late afternoon. The sun was beginning to set. He happened to glance outside and saw the figure again. This time, it was closer. It was standing by the old oak tree in the middle of his yard. He could see it more clearly now. It was pale, hairless, and its movements were jerky and unnatural. It was just standing there, slowly turning its head from side to side, as if surveying the area. Mark froze, staring in disbelief and horror. The thing then turned its head and looked directly at the house, directly at his window. It didn't have a discernible face, just smooth, pale skin. But Mark felt its gaze on him, a feeling of cold, analytical observation. He dropped to the floor, crawling away from the window, his heart hammering against his ribs. He stayed there for what felt like an hour, until he finally mustered the courage to peek over the windowsill. The yard was empty. After that, the sightings became more frequent and more brazen. He'd see it in the yard, in the middle of the day, a fleeting glimpse as it darted behind the shed. He started hearing noises at night, scratching sounds on the back of the house, a soft tapping on the window pane. He stopped sleeping. He installed security cameras, but they never captured anything. The footage would show an empty yard, even at times when Mark was certain the creature was out there. The breaking point came one Saturday. Mark had friends over for a barbecue, trying to force a sense of normalcy back into his life. As dusk fell, they were all sitting on the patio, laughing and talking. Suddenly, one of his friends went quiet, his eyes wide, staring at the woods. "What is that?" he whispered. Everyone turned to look. The figure was standing at the tree line again, perfectly still, watching them. A collective gasp went through the group. It wasn't just Mark's imagination, it was real. The thing took one long, slow step out of the woods, then another, its long, spindly limbs moving in a grotesque, insect-like way. That was enough. The party ended abruptly as everyone scrambled inside. Mark sold the house a week later at a significant loss. He never went back, and he never found out what that thing was. But sometimes, he still wakes up in the middle of the night, with the terrifying feeling that something is watching him from the darkness outside his window. Our second story is from a young woman named Clara, who was house-sitting for her parents while they were on a 2-week vacation. Their house was in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where everyone knows each other, and nothing ever happens. The backyard was her mother's pride and joy, filled with flower beds and a small koi pond. One of Clara's duties was to feed the fish every evening. The first few nights were uneventful, but on the 4th night, as she was sprinkling fish food into the pond, she heard a sound. It was a faint, melodic humming, coming from the direction of the back fence. She looked around, but saw nothing. It was probably just a neighbor, she thought, but the humming had an odd quality to it, a strange, lilting tune that was both beautiful and unsettling. The next night, she heard it again, a little louder this time. She tried to pinpoint the source, but it seemed to come from everywhere at once. It made the hairs on her arms stand up. She quickly finished feeding the fish and hurried back inside, locking the door behind her. That night, she had trouble sleeping. The strange melody seemed to be stuck in her head. A couple of nights later, she decided to record the sound on her phone. She stood by the pond, phone in hand, waiting. Right on cue, the humming started. It was clearer than ever before. She recorded about 30 seconds of it before her nerve broke and she ran back inside. She played the recording back. The melody was there, but underneath it, almost too quiet to hear, was something else. A voice whispering. She couldn't make out the words. It was just a soft, sibilant hiss. Clara was terrified. She called her friend, who tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was the wind, or a radio playing somewhere far away. But Clara knew it wasn't. The whispering felt personal, directed at her. She started to dread the evenings, the task of feeding the fish becoming a source of intense anxiety. She would dash out, throw the food in, and run back inside in seconds. One evening, as she was rushing back to the house, she tripped and fell, scraping her knee. As she lay on the grass, wincing, the humming started. But this time, it wasn't coming from the fence. It was coming from right beside her. She turned her head slowly, her heart in her throat. Sitting on the edge of the koi pond was a small, childlike figure. It looked like a little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, with long, dark hair that covered her face. She was wearing a tattered white dress and swinging her bare feet just above the water. Clara couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The girl was humming that same eerie tune. Then she stopped, humming, and spoke. Her voice a soft, high-pitched whisper that was nothing like the hissing on the recording. "You fell," she said, without lifting her head. "Does it hurt?" Clara could only stammer a reply. Who are you?" The girl slowly lifted her head. Her face was a pale, blank oval. There were no eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just smooth, uninterrupted skin. Clara screamed. She scrambled to her feet and sprinted into the house, slamming and locking the door. She collapsed against it, hyperventilating. She spent the rest of the night huddled in the living room, with all the lights on, refusing to go near any windows. The next morning, she packed a bag and went to stay with her friend, abandoning the house. When her parents came home, she told them what happened. They searched the backyard, but found nothing. No footprints, no disturbances. They thought she was stressed and overworked. But Clara knows what she saw. She found an old newspaper article online about the neighborhood's history. Decades ago, before the houses were built, the land was home to an old, forgotten cemetery. Several children had been buried there, children who were never moved. Our final story tonight comes from a family, the Harrisons. They had just moved into a beautiful home with a sprawling backyard that featured a large, inviting swimming pool. The parents, Tom and Sarah, were excited for their 2 kids 8-year-old Leo and 6-year-old Maya, to enjoy it. For the first month, the pool was the center of their lives. But as summer waned and the nights grew longer, the kids became reluctant to swim in the evening. They said the water felt weird after dark. Tom and Sarah dismissed it as childish imagination. One night, Tom was cleaning the leaves out of the pool with a long skimmer net. The underwater lights cast an ethereal blue glow through the water. As he dragged the net across the bottom of the deep end, he felt it snag on something heavy. He figured it was a large branch or a pool toy. He pulled harder, but it wouldn't budge. Annoyed, he tugged with all his strength. The object came free with a sudden jerk, and he hauled the net to the surface. It wasn't a branch. Tangled in the mesh was a long, matted clump of dark hair. Tom stared at it, disgusted and confused. It was far too much hair to have come from anyone in his family. He threw it away, trying not to think about it. A few nights later, Sarah was woken by a splashing sound from the backyard. She looked at the clock. It was 2 a.m., thinking an animal had fallen into the pool. She went to the window to check. The pool was still, its surface like glass under the moonlight. There was nothing there. As she turned to go back to bed, she caught a flicker of movement out of the corner of her eye. She looked back at the pool. For a split second, she thought she saw a face just under the surface of the water, looking up at her, a pale face with dark, empty eyes. She blinked, and it was gone. She convinced herself she was just tired. The strange occurrences escalated. The kids would complain of feeling something brush against their legs while swimming, even when no one else was near. Toys left on the patio would be found floating in the middle of the pool the next morning. Then came the whispers. At night, when the house was quiet, they would hear faint whispering noises, seeming to come from the pool filter, carried through the plumbing into the house. It sounded like a woman's voice, muttering indistinctly. The final straw came during Leo's 9th birthday party. The backyard was full of kids, laughing and splashing in the pool. Sarah was inside getting the cake when she heard a sudden, piercing scream. She ran outside to see all the children scrambling out of the pool, their faces masks of terror. Her son, Leo, was being pulled from the water by another parent, coughing and sputtering. When he could finally speak, he said he had been playing a game of Marco Polo. He had his eyes closed and was reaching out when he felt a cold hand grab his ankle. He thought it was one of his friends, but the grip was impossibly strong. It started pulling him down into the deep end. He opened his eyes under the water and saw a woman. She was floating right in front of him, her body pale and bloated, her long dark hair swirling around her head like a grotesque halo. Her eyes were wide open and black, and her mouth was open in a silent scream. She was the one pulling him down. The Harrisons drained the pool the next day. As the water level dropped, something was revealed, wedged in the main drain at the bottom of the deep end. It was the decomposed remains of a human body. Police were called, and an investigation began. They eventually identified the body as a woman who had gone missing in the area a year before the Harrisons even bought the house. The previous owner had sold it in a hurry, never mentioning any problems. The authorities ruled her death an accidental drowning, but the Harrisons knew better. They knew what Leo had seen. They sold the house and moved away, haunted by the memory of the woman in the water and the cold, unyielding grip that tried to drag their son into the deep. The safety of our own backyard is an illusion. It's a thin veil separating our world from something else, something that waits and watches from the shadows. So next time you're looking out your back window into the night, ask yourself, what might be looking back? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling tales. Stay safe.